This is how you tell you are a car guy. Nobody else is parked here. And then, way in the distance, I can't really see it. So coming around the corner. Yep, that's right. One person parks way up here. This is how you know you're a car guy, when you literally park where there's nobody else at the top floor of a parking garage, in this case second to top floor, just because I don't want door dings. Yep, that's right. I'm that guy. I park as far away from every other car as possible, basically solely to avoid door dings. Yep, that's me. Anyway, what's going on, YouTube? Tom here. Today, I wanted to discuss another topic that's come up on a couple of different videos of mine. Anyway, and that is it better to buy a new car or a used car? So first of all, I know a lot of people are probably going to say, yep, they'd rather buy a used car. Simply put, it's cheaper. Let someone else take that initial hit on depreciation. But is that always the best way? So I'm going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of either one. Now first of all, let's put it this way. I'm the kind of person, I like to buy a brand new car rather than a used car. This is my 2013 Tacoma, for anyone who's new to the channel. And I've had it since it was brand new in 2013. And so far I've got about 30,000 miles on it. I've got no intention of getting a new vehicle anytime soon. So yeah, I like to buy a new car, simply put, and then just drive the damn wheels off. I'm that kind of guy. I would rather have a brand new car, no miles on it, or relatively close to zero, and then put all the miles on myself. But a lot of people are not that way. The argument I hear a lot for why you buy a used car is let someone else take that initial hit on depreciation rather than be the guy that takes it yourself. And that's always a good point. So, initial hit on depreciation, let's talk about that. Where it's more or less, 5%, 10%, 20% in a worst case scenario. People will probably give me some shit for percentages, but yeah, but that's about what it is. Now, depending on the car, depending on everything else about it, yeah. And so that's always something to consider. Is depreciation is going to always be a thing when you buy a car. Now, that used or new, it's a safe bet to say any car is going to lose money over time. Now, the exception of maybe a collector car, and obviously those you buy used, it's an investment. It's only going to go up in value, but normal cars don't. In fact, most of the time when you have a car, it's not going to go up in value at all for you owning it. It just eventually goes down to zero, at which point you haul it off to a junkyard and leave it there. But so that's always something to consider. Buying a 1 or 2 year old car, you think, wow, you're gonna save all that money on depreciation over buying the new car, especially when car companies don't change a car from year to year. If it's just completely the same car, yeah, that's always worth it. Now, here's why I don't like used cars in the context of buying a car used. If you don't know who's owned it before, you honestly have no clue what they've done to that car. By that I mean, you don't know how they've driven it. You don't know, has it been in an accident? Asterisk. You don't know, has it been to a body shop again? Asterisk. And the reason I say that is because, everyone's going to say, oh, what about Carfax? Well, here's the thing. Carfax only tells you what's been reported. If there's something that's never been reported to the car's history, let's say the person took it to the body shop and had it fixed with cash, you don't know. They could have totaled the car pretty much and just never simply reported it and just had it fixed. So yeah, things can go unreported. Now, totaling, that's an extreme example. Yeah, they probably never total a car, it'd get towed away. But worst case scenario is, yeah, somebody just completely thrashes a car around, they drive it like they stole it, and then by the time they they sell this car, it's already got a lot of mileage on it. Hard mileage, I should say. And yeah, you just simply never know. Okay, I'm coming up to a roundabout, already getting people that have no idea how to take a roundabout. That's why I hate traffic most days. So anyway, yeah, you don't know how someone's driven the car when you buy it used, unless, of course, you know who's owned it. So my dad always gave me the advice of never buy a used car unless you know who's owned it. And you know, he's never bought a used car. In fact, hence why I have a brand new truck. Pretty much, you know, so I've had it since it was brand new. So anyway, that's one disadvantage of a used car. The advantage, of course, yeah, is obviously, like I said, depreciation. You let someone else take that initial hit. But for me personally, this is another reason I prefer buying new over used. If you buy used, you're kind of like, you're limited to whatever is out there on the market. And so let's say you want a specific trim level of car. Well, you have to actually find that trim and that configuration. You have to find that on the market somewhere. And then the problem is sometimes that's just not a thing. New, it might be harder to find too, but at least new you can have it custom made. Used, you can't simply have a car that's out of production made again. So me personally, that's me. I'm picky about when I spec out a car. I'm like, I have to have my specific options. I'm that guy who walks into the dealer and says, yeah, do you have this package here? And they say, no, find me one. I'm that guy. But that's me. I'm weird like that. Some people are like that too, and some people aren't. But that's another advantage of buying new over used. And of course, now if you do buy used, you have a few different options for used. Option number one is obviously you just go on Craigslist or somewhere, buy your whatever piece of shit for $500, and if your budget's $500, you probably don't even care what kind of car you get. You probably just want something that runs. I've got friends like that where they own cars that are worth $500, and it just has to run. That's one option. Obviously, if you're an extreme cheapskate, then of course you just drive it till the car dies, and then ditch it in a junkyard somewhere and go get yourself another $500 car. Another option would be when you go to just a standard used car lot and you buy whatever's there. Obviously, those cars are going to have the wear and tear. Dealers tend to fix whatever they know they can make money on. If they can't make money on it, obviously, they're just going to throw it on the lot. Now, those cars are good because you know what you get, but bad because, for reasons I mentioned, you don't know who's driven it, you don't know how it's been driven. It could just, they basically could have used the car as a beater and then all of a sudden gotten rid of it, and that happens. The third option, and I guess this is the most common option for people who really want a decent used car, is they go for certified pre-owned cars. Now, this has its advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is certified pre-owned, or even something like CarMax, they put it through an inspection, or at least they claim to. Sometimes I've always questioned that, but hypothetically they're going to put it through an inspection. They're going to look over the car, make sure it's in good shape, and they're only going to really put it on their lot if they know it meets criteria. Now that's an advantage because you know what you're getting. You're getting a car that someone has looked over and has said, yep, this meets our specifications. We are not going to sell a car that's a complete piece of crap to you. And that's the advantage. The disadvantage is you say to yourself, are you really getting what you pay for? I am watching this guy just about, like, he's going to the construction site back there. This guy just stopped in the middle of the road, didn't know what he was doing for a second. Anyway, the disadvantage is, are you really getting the amount of car you pay for? Certified pre-owned, they kind of mark up compared to what that car's actually worth because of the so-called inspection. They fix a lot of things. They get it to where it's almost like buying a new car, but still a used car. And then the problem is it really worth that? An example I like to use for that is Mini Cooper a few years ago, or Mini I should say. Mini, they have their certified pre-owned program. Now at one point it was one of the best, they said. This was an article I read in Car and Driver, and they said one of the top ones. They go through some rigorous inspection. Not even every car qualifies to be in the program. So what ended up happening was they would put the Mini Coopers that were a year old on the lot at certified pre-owned, and at the time I don't remember exactly what the cost was, but a new Mini Cooper was, give or take, about $24,000. So you could buy a certified pre-owned Mini Cooper 1 year before that, 1 year old, fairly low mileage, and it was actually $26,000. So certified pre-owned is actually more than buying a brand new car at that point. And you had to ask yourself, was there really a purpose? And are you really saving on that initial hit on depreciation when you're actually paying more than the car's worth? So, then another thing I like to say is people always try to act like the initial hit of depreciation. That's not the only depreciation the car ever goes through. Another example I got used on me was saying, well, they were saying, yeah, I want to buy a brand new Mustang. Well, 45 grand, 40 to 45 grand, you could also buy blank X number of cars used. And it was like Lotus Exige, C6 Corvette, even early C7 Corvette, ZL1 Camaro, Shelby Mustang, and the list goes on and on. It's like, that price range, there's a bunch of cars you can have. And the reality is, just because it's now at that price doesn't mean it won't be that price forever. It's eventually, at some point, going to depreciate even more. And it happens where these cars continue to depreciate. So, cars are always depreciating, like I said, unless it's a collector car. If it's a collector car, yeah, it's going to eventually go up in value. If you're talking a Ferrari, yeah, Ferraris are going to go up over time. But when we're talking, Mini Coopers, again, yeah, no, they're not going to go up in value anytime soon anyway. So, just because I can have a used car for the same price as what I want to buy new doesn't mean it's a better deal. If anything, some cases it just means it's going to depreciate more. And then another thing I like to point out to people, that when you actually take a car loan, if you're financing a car rather than paying cash, when you finance a used car, the average used car loan actually has a higher interest rate than a brand new car loan. Bump. So anyway, when you factor that in, it's like, for the same price range, yeah, you're going to eventually pay more. And it might be cheaper overall, but at the same time, yeah, there's more money involved since the interest rate's higher. And of course, yeah, then we talk about, like I said, depreciation, of course, is a thing. I think that bump almost knocked my phone out of its holder I have here. Yeah, it didn't help. Yeah, I think the bump just knocked my phone out. Yep, that's a new one for me. But yeah, anyway, we still got the loans. Obviously, a car loan is going to cost more for a used car, and especially if you are one of the, well, it's in that same price range as the new car. Well, that's important, because inevitably you're talking more money you're going to pay for that used car in that same price range. Now, for example, again, one of the ones I mentioned on that list, for 45 grand, I could have a 2015 ZL1 Camaro. I found it on Auto Trader, in the style of the great Doug DeMuro. On Auto Trader, there was in this area too. This isn't just random Auto Trader search. And the same area, I could also go get a brand new 1LE SS Camaro for 45 grand. So like I said, when you're talking about a loan, if I chose the ZL1 over the 1LE, I'd inevitably pay more for that ZL1 just simply because of it'd be a used car loan rather than a new car loan. Yes, I'd have to finance right now I'm gonna have to finance a car. I'm simply not rich enough to pay cash. If you're paying cash, obviously that's an important thing to consider. But then we go back to that might be a good thing, is let's say you're in the market for a Mercedes. Example I like to use, since the market is flooded with pre-owned Mercedes-Benzes, since the average Mercedes buyer buys a brand new car, trades it in 3 years later, and just keeps buying new ones. Obviously, the market is just completely flooded with these slightly pre-owned Mercedes-Benzes. So if we're talking about certified pre-owned, of course, that depreciation is good. Obviously, if it's bad if you're a Mercedes owner selling the car, but if you're a buyer, that's a good thing, because now your depreciation is within a reasonable price range for most people. Alright, you buy the car, you get certified pre-owned. One of the advantages of that is a lot of times they offer either a decent warranty to go on to it. If the factory warranty's expired, sometimes they offer a better one. Also, they offer, Mercedes specifically, they like to offer things like complimentary maintenance, which, if you really think about it, yeah, you pay a little extra for the car, but compared to just buying cash somewhere else, then yeah, it might actually be a good thing, because Mercedes maintenance is expensive. And if you were, let's say you were just going to buy the car and then sell again 3 years later, like every other Mercedes owner, you wanted your fancy Mercedes that does everything, then yeah, certified pre-owned actually might be a good deal. So I got a lot of, especially where I live around here, there's a lot of people who do that with the luxury cars. You got a Lexus coming up right here, same thing. I swear some of these people, you see them in brand new cars constantly. So yeah, at that point, I mean, if you were really worried about buying a new car, I would tell you lease a car, don't buy a car, but... So anyway, just to conclude everything I've said here, if you were going to buy, you know, a decent car, I would honestly tell you buy new rather than buying certified pre-owned if you wanted a latest and greatest type thing. If you plan to get rid of a car in a few years and you, instead of leasing it for whatever reason you decide you needed to buy it, yeah, I'd probably tell you consider a certified pre-owned if you were just simply going to get rid of it. But if you obviously were really that cheap, then yeah, I'd go find yourself a decent car that's heavily depreciated and get that, because if anything, that's going to save you a lot of money. But like I said with the used car, just be cautious because you don't know the history of the car. You think you do on Carfax, and the reality is you don't really know as much as you think you might know about that car, unless of course you know whoever's owned it. So anyway, if you have any, if you'd like to leave a comment, leave it below. Let me know what you all think. Point out errors in whatever I've said if you must. Let me know what you all think. If you're watching this, are you a used car buyer? Or are you a new car buyer? Are you a leaser? Whatever. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave a thumbs up. If you're stopping in for the first time in this channel, please subscribe. I would love to grow this channel. And have a good day.